Thank you, Philip, for putting this on. Guys, I used to host meetups every single month in Orlando when I lived there, and it is not easy. It is not fun. It's a lot of organization. So before we jump in, let's give a round of applause for Philip for putting this on, putting this together. I just messaged him last minute, and I was like, I'm coming to Richmond. Let's do a meetup. So I really appreciate you putting this together. But thank you for the introduction. By the way, I didn't get a chance to talk to a lot of you guys, but I got to say, you guys look fantastic. Best dressed audience. I wish I had more time. We're going to have tons of time afterwards, but this is my hometown. I love Richmond, and so I'll be here for the rest of the night if you guys want. I can answer all the questions. I'm happy to share more and build relationships after I'm done sharing a little bit about lending. So, like Philip said, my name is Alexis Morgan. I got started in real estate way back when, 2022. And it's been a cool journey since then. So today I want to tell you a little bit about my story, who I am, and by the end of our time here today, we'll have some real takeaways that you guys can go and implement in your businesses to raise money and start lending. Sound good? Sweet. So, who am I? Why should you be listening to me? My picture's got a little foggy here, but more than anything, I'm an entrepreneur. I love business. I love finance. I've been blessed to create some incredible businesses generating 8 figures in revenue for myself, my partners, my investors. But, big huge but, that's come with a lot of losses and lessons. And so I want to share some of those losses, share some of those lessons, and share some of that material so that you guys can save time and not make the same mistakes that I did. Number 2, I'm a capital raiser. I'm going to share with you why capital raising is something you might want to consider, why you might want to position yourself as someone who has access to capital. But I love working with investors. I love matching deals, and particularly deal structure for investor capital coming into opportunities. I'm the founder of Peach State Capital Group, which is my company and my fund. We've deployed tens of millions of dollars into real estate, which is something that I'm really, really proud of. But more than anything, more importantly than all the money, more importantly than all the deals, I'm a faith-based friend and leader. A lot of my connections, a lot of my success has come from heart-to-heart connections with real people, real relationships, and most importantly, my relationship with God. So this is really important to me and has been the foundation of my journey, especially when making huge jumps like dropping out of school, which we'll go into. So my journey, as much success as I've had, it hasn't always been like this. This picture of me on the left here is me in kindergarten. And since I was a small little girl, I've always wanted to follow the rules. This is a private school I went to up in Fort Washington, Maryland. I was born in D.C., October 30th, 2003. And when I started going to school, I went to this private school that had tons and tons of rules. One of the rules was your uniform had to have a matching tie and matching socks, like super unique. And my mom would send me to school sometimes with them not matching. I don't know what was going on with her that day, but it would piss me off. Because I would go to school, and if my stuff was not matching, I would get ridiculed. I'd get corrected. If my stuff was matching, no one would bother me. And so really, really early on, I started to reinforce this belief system that you follow the rules, you do what people say, you move forward, and you stay in line. And I had to break that throughout my entire journey. As I was growing up, and I grew up okay. You know, I sold things. My mom had a good job, but at the end of the day, there wasn't tons and tons of money. There wasn't an abundance of wealth. And I mention that because as I was growing up, I started to play soccer at a really high level. In this picture here, a little fuzzy. Hopefully I can get you guys some clearer photos. But that picture there is one of the highest level soccer teams that I played on. It was an academy team, and it costed thousands of dollars a year to just be on the team. And this was my first real exposure to wealth. Did you guys also have a light bulb moment where you saw something, you watched a video, someone invited you somewhere, and you started to see the possibility? Anybody have that moment? I bet you remember it like it was yesterday. This was that team for me. One of my teammates, you guys stayed in a Hilton hotel before? Yeah. Perfect, me too, all the time. One of my teammates, her father was the CEO of Hilton Worldwide. And they would throw these parties at their house. I don't know why they were throwing parties because we didn't win a lot of games, but they would throw parties anyway. And I remember pulling up to the house. It's me and my mom. And we like passed the bushes because you really can't even see anything past the tall bushes of these like wealthy houses. And the house is all one story, so it's spread across what looks like hundreds of acres at that time to me. And I walk through the front doors. There's this long hallway, chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. The back side of the hallway to the left is all glass back doors. You see the courtyard, you see the guest house, you see the pool. And this was the first time that I saw 2 kitchens in one house, a butler's kitchen and a real kitchen. And I was like, what the heck? What are these people doing for work? How do they make money? How is there so much? Again, I grew up okay. And middle class is such a bittersweet feeling because it's just comfortable enough to not want more, but just uncomfortable enough to know that there's more out there. And I got the bug right away. I got the bug. I was in the house, I was hanging out with the people, and I was like, there's more out there. And that planted the seed. This was 15 years old for me. That planted the seed of wealth, abundance, capital. And so as I continued to grow up, as I continued to mature, when I was 17 years old, my family moved to Florida. COVID hit my junior year of high school, and I moved to Florida. Now, what I didn't know about moving to Florida is that I couldn't meet anyone. In COVID, we literally couldn't go outside. And so 90 days passed where it was just me, myself, and I. And I was starting to read books about personal development, starting to read books about wealth, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? That's the book that it's like the gateway drug of real estate, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I started to read that stuff at 17 years old, going into my senior year of high school. But that same principle of following the rules and doing what other people told me to do showed up again as I was leaving school. I had all the knowledge, I read all the books, I watched the YouTube videos, but when you're graduating high school, everyone's telling you to go to college. And so I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the courage. And so I leave high school, I get a scholarship to Georgia Tech, I take all the money Georgia Tech gave me, and I go and to be an engineer. And my time at Georgia Tech was some of the most miserable months of my life. I remember walking on campus, going to class, studying, and just not being able to understand how what I was doing every day was going to lead me to the life that I wanted. And so multiple times in my freshman semester, I went to my mom and I said, hey, I don't think this is for me. Can I take a leave of absence? She says, no, are you crazy? Like, you have a scholarship, you're at a top institution, you're studying, like, just give it a couple months. Things will change, you'll settle in. I was like, okay, you're right. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I go to her a second time. A couple months pass. Can I drop out? I don't think this is for me. No, are you crazy? Like, this is, like, put this idea behind you, stay in school. A third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. Every time, no. And I don't know what happened, but on my 18th birthday, October 2021, I just realized this is my life. This is my future. No one's going to class but me. No one's sleeping in this dorm room but me. No one's studying engineering but me. No one has the misery that I have walking on campus but me. And so I am going to make a decision for my life and leave school. And that didn't go over very well. But things happened quickly after that. The semester ended December 2021. December 25th, or maybe the day after, the 26th, I was at a real estate Christmas party just to meet up just like this. Shaking hands, asking questions, meeting people. March 2022, I got my first real estate check. 3 months later. Took 3 months though, but 3 months later, I got my first real estate check. And how did I get that check? I worked at a wholesale company, commission only. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. calling sellers. Doing the dirty work, right, that no one wants to do. Getting rejected time after time after time. I used the money that I made in that commissions-only sales job to continue investing in myself. I joined communities like Sub 2. I went to events like 10X. I continued to use the money to pour into my community, my network, and my knowledge. Sub 2 is one of the communities that's changed my life forever. Can we make some noise for Pace Morby? Like, there's something special. there is something special about sub 2, without a doubt. And from there, I started sharing everything I knew. I would learn something, I'd use it, and then I'd post a YouTube video about it. I learned something, I'd use it, then I'd post a YouTube video about it. I started sharing everything that I learned in my whole journey since then. So, how did I get into lending, raising money? This is what you guys are all here for. 2 years ago, I was a wholesaler. We were just talking. I was door knocking foreclosures. I think many of us would consider that the bottom of the barrel. You're in the trenches of real estate, really. Wholesaling is a beginner's strategy. And just 1.5, 2 years later, I'm really at the top of the totem pole, lending people money. How does it happen? How did I skip the step of my first fix and flip, my first buy and hold, my commercial? I jumped from A to Z. It came from an identity shift. Just like I had to claim my stuff when I dropped out of college, when I met this man here, his name's John Pennington. He runs a $28 billion fund, billion with a B. I met him at an event called Fund Launch Live, and I got the opportunity to ask him a question. I love when guys like this are in the halls because they truly want to give, they truly want to pour into you. He doesn't need to be in the halls. He's just like here to give, here to serve. I got the opportunity to ask him a question. I said, what would you do if you were 19 years old again? I was 19 in the picture. And he told me, look, Alexis, great operators focus on deals. There's a guy or a gal in every market in America that gets the call when something's about to be sold. Great operators focus on running their company, focus on leadership, focus on deal flow. But no matter how rich, how wealthy, how many deals that guy or gal has, they will never outgrow their need to finance a transaction. Every piece of real estate costs money. Every deal costs. Every deal has money behind it. They'll never outgrow their need to finance a transaction. So, if you can position yourself as someone with capital or with access to capital, you will get the best deals. You will get deals first. And you flip the script. Instead of you chasing deals, deals now chase you. And I was like, oh my God, I need to raise money. I need to get access to money. And so I started looking at opportunities to fund things. If this resonates with you and you're starting to go off, light bulb's starting to go off, okay, I need to get access to capital. There's some things that I would suggest, some things that I wish someone told me when I got started. The first one would be to pick a lane. Pick a strategy. What are you doing in real estate right now that's already working? What do you already understand? And so my strategy, as many of you guys know, is first position real estate debt. First position loans. Fix and flip loans, monthly interest. It's a vanilla strategy. Couple reasons why I chose that strategy though, just for some insight. Number one, there's a difference between debt and equity, right? When I look at equity and I look at partnering on a deal, that's like getting married. And I want to date people first. Take me out to dinner, right? And so I chose debt so that I could have quick understanding of who I want to work with long term. So I could have a dating period with people that I'm building relationships with. When you raise equity, you want to get to know that person, you want to interview them, you want to build a relationship with them, because you're going to be in a deal for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You don't want to be in a deal for 5, 10, 15, 20 years with someone you don't like. When you look at lending as a strategy, typically you're on short-term notes. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, maybe at the longest. And so if you figure out 60 days in you don't like the guy, well, that's a good thing because the note's coming due and you can wipe your hands and move on. Right? If they're not a good communicator, if they don't handle stress well, they don't pay on time. Debt is a strategy that you can get into without having to be so committed to someone for a long period of time. The other reason I chose debt and lending is because I could create quick wins with my investors. When I started, Remember, I was 18 years old, 19 years old. I didn't have credibility. I didn't have contacts. I didn't have people who were ready to just fund my deals. And so other people saying that they had a successful transaction with me was really, really valuable. And I wanted that to happen quickly. And so I focused on loans that were 6 months, 3 months, short-term loans so that you could have a full cycle deal with me. And then I go to him and I say, talk to him. He worked with me. He did a deal with me. And I do it again and again and again. And then the proof of concept is there. The credibility is there. Because now it's just not me preaching about what I'm doing. Someone else is saying, yeah, I did it. It works out great. Alexis is awesome. Her team communicates. They perform. And you can't do that when you have something that lasts 5 years. You can't do that when you're paying back an investor 2 years later. They have to wait that full 2-year cycle before they can really shout your name and give you that stamp of approval. Does that make sense? So this is kind of the things that I chose in my strategy. Think about for yourselves, what am I doing in real estate and how can I create a quick win for an investor so that I can use them as a credibility piece for other people as I build my brand. So second thing, building your brand. Number 2, embody these things, the know, like, and trust factor. If you're going to be lending, if you're going to be raising money for loans, for lending opportunities, your investors are going to do business with you if they know you, if they like you, and they trust you. So this is not a new concept. How many of you guys have heard know, like, trust before? Right? There's so many things in this industry that it's like, oh yeah, I heard that, but I don't really know what it means. So when it comes to the know factor, really think about what does your network look like? And not just how many hands have I shaken, but really, do people know what you do? Do people know what you do? Does your network know that you're at a real estate meetup right now? Do they know you're putting in the time on a Sunday to be here? Because whether or not you've done a deal, that shows something. Give people the opportunity to know what you're doing because they can't do business with you if they don't know. Number 2, like. We all made noise for Pace Morby. It's hard not to like that guy, right? It's hard not to like that guy. You see him talking to people, you see him smiling, storytelling. There's no way you can't like the guy. But what I'll tell you is that is a learned skill called charisma. And you can create it. Study, how can I be more likable? How can I be more friendly? How do I relate to people? The like part is a big, big factor in raising money, especially if you're dealing with individual capital under $3 million checks. No one's writing you a check unless they're friends with you. Or at least they feel as if they're friends with you. They like you. And last but not least, trust. This is a big piece here. This is credibility. What can I lean on? What experience do I have or who am I partnering with to bring those receipts when an investor asks, show me that you've done this before, right? The know, like, and trust is a killer combo that you have to nail. It's a simple concept, but it's underrated. Really, think about those 3 things. And last but not least, you have to take action. My first 3 months raising money, I raised $0. I messaged everyone in my contacts list, hopped on calls, but I failed forward. The reason I know what I know today about raising capital is because of those calls. It's because of those failures. And so with the know, like, and trust factor, who has people in their phone right now that have no idea what you do? They don't know that you're in real estate. Everyone, I'm sure. Tell them what you do. Start sharing your opportunities. If you're going to take action today, think about 3 people in your phone who have the high-paying W-2, who have the business, who might just be not interested or not knowledgeable about real estate opportunities. And start to message them. Say, hey, it's been a while since we last chatted. What are you up to these days? Now, this is not on the slides, but this is something I was telling a couple people about. Very rarely am I actually pitching opportunities to people. If you're going to commit to capital raising, you have to adopt the mindset of genuine curiosity. I'm not coming to you and sitting next to you and saying, hey, I have this real estate opportunity, do you want in? Instead, I'm saying, hey, what are you up to these days? What are you investing in? How are your stocks doing? Discover, discover, discover. There's this really good analogy that I use. What's your name? Julie. So imagine Julie and I are driving in a car together. We're both hungry and we want to get something to eat. I could say to Julie, hey, Julie, I'm thinking, I know this really good Chinese restaurant. Do you want Chinese? Julie now has the opportunity to say no, the opportunity to disagree. Instead, I also could say, hey, Julie, I know we're both hungry, finding a common interest. What are you in the mood for? Julie says Chinese, perfect. That's what I was thinking too. Julie says wings, perfect. That's what I was thinking too. Julie says Korean barbecue, perfect. That's what I was thinking too. And I treat my investor conversations the same way. I'm not saying, hey, I have real estate loans first position at 10 to 12%. I'm saying, what are you doing with your money? And I'm matching my opportunities to what they have already presented me that they're interested in. Does that make sense? Do you see how that's a different approach to raising capital? I'm not just presenting whatever's out there. You guys will never see me post a deal publicly. I'm asking the right questions. And so if you are going to take massive action today, start with asking questions, not pitching deals. Does that make sense? Sweet. Okay. Who here wants 100,000? Of course, everybody, right? Of course. I could fund all the deals. I would be happy to fund the deals. I actually just did a deal. Is Armin in here? No, there he is, yeah. I actually just did a deal. I funded your deal in Petersburg, 170,000. I would love to fund all the deals. But what I find is more fun lately is actually showing people how I did what I did. I used to host these PML masterminds, pulling back the curtain on my entire lending business. And I'm doing some of that education now too. But if you're going to go after capital raising, if you're going to lend money, if you're going to jump into this world, there's 3 things that you have to be aware of. Number 1, know thyself. I had to figure out why I was in real estate. That old girl who was at Georgia Tech doing things for other people, she died a long time ago. And so if you are going to get into capital raising, if you are going to jump in and do real estate, if you are going to double down on this strategy, know why you're doing it. Know that you're doing it for you and know your why. And the reason that's so important is because when you're doing stuff with your own money, there's no eyes on it. You can mess up, you can not care, whatever. You can run your business. But when you start to involve investor capital, they can feel your conviction. And so if you don't have that before you get started, it's going to be very hard to raise money. It's going to be very hard to keep people afloat, keep morale high when things are going wrong if investors can't feel your conviction. Knowing your why, knowing what your interest is, knowing your strategy is the first step. Right after that comes the skill set. Quick little story. I was in Dallas in April at a pitch competition. Fund Launch Live, by the way. This was a Fund Launch Live event. If you guys haven't heard of that and you want to raise capital at a really high level, and by high level, I mean they do stuff in the billions of dollars. It's a great group. I was at one of their events in Dallas in April, and there was a pitch competition. Randomly, I was not prepared. There was a pitch competition. And so there's 10 of us that are going up on stage. You have 2 minutes to pitch your opportunity. And I look to my right, and the guy next to me has gray hairs. He's been in the industry for a while, obviously way smarter, way more experience. I look to my left, same thing. Like people who are building funds, raising money, they're typically not just starting out. I was the youngest one out of the 10. I think I was the only female too. And so we all go up. We have 2 minutes to pitch our deals, pitch our opportunity, pitch our fund, and raise money from the room. And I won the competition. I don't say that to brag. I don't say that to brag. Because it really doesn't make sense. How can someone with more experience, more time, more knowledge lose an investor to me? Because there's a way to pitch deals, and there's a wrong way to pitch deals. And so the skill set of raising money is an actual skill set. There's a sales funnel that my team has in place to move people through our pipeline from stranger to investor. In the last 2 years, I've raised $35 million from people who I didn't know before then. That is a process. That is not luck. That is not a mistake. That is a process. And so getting the skill set, if raising capital is something that you want to do, getting the skill set is something that I would commit to. Just like me, I mean, when I made my first check, the first thing that I did was invest in myself, right? Getting that skill set is everything. And last but not least, outline why you're doing it. Again, coming back to that why. Build your life and outline if you raise 100,000, what does that mean for you? If you raise $1 million, what does that mean for you? Paint that vision, paint that picture for yourself, again, because that conviction shows up on your calls. So on July 26th, I'm super excited about this. Most of the time I talk about lending and underwriting and all the fancy nuances, and I'm happy to answer questions about this. But my lending business was successful because I raised money. In order to lend capital, you have to have capital. And so for the first time, I'm actually going over that sales funnel that I told you about, how we take someone from cold message to $400,000 wire is a process. I want to show people how I did that. I want to show people, here's how I structure my cold messages, my frameworks on how we get credibility fast. Anyone can generate interest, right? You put a post up on Facebook, you get lots of likes and lots of comments. And I know this because I went through this. But to actually get a wire sent is a whole nother thing. And so we have lots of soft commitments, lots of touches in the middle, lots of pieces of our process that we go and secure that investor capital so that when the deal is there, when the stakes are high, when we have a commitment, the wire actually moves through. The last thing you want as someone who's connecting deals and connecting money and making deals come together through capital is that your money is gone the day of closing. Your money drops out. That is your reputation. Your ability to fund quickly and stick behind your word is your reputation. So I had to create all these processes to make sure that my money, the capital, the investor, doesn't leave us the day before closing, doesn't drop out the day before closing. So on July 26th, I'm going to be going through that sales funnel. If you guys are interested, I would love for you to be there. I'd love to see you there. And all the stuff that I've learned over the last 2 years about raising capital, there's no way I could go over it in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but I at least want to give you some real takeaways. So I'm happy to answer questions. I hope you guys learned something. Did you learn something? Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Phil mentioned when he was talking to the group that you guys said, I want to ask this, I want to ask that, I want to ask this. When you think about capital raising, when you think about your strategies in real estate, what's holding you back from scaling what you're doing? Anybody here have a real estate deal right now, today, under contract? Keep your hand raised if that deal needs financing. Every single one of you, right? Every single one of you. And so if you can have that money, you can raise that money, you can wedge yourself into so many deals. You can get access to so many opportunities. What's holding you guys back? Seriously, I want to hear, I want to help, I want to answer some questions. Yep.
Okay. So we got my wholesaling company, we got under contract for 462 apartment complex unit. I don't have that money, and I was just a wholesaler. And so I'm pitching this, and Base actually told me to call and set up a one-on-one with him. I haven't done it because we're waiting for another big person for this week. I have no idea, and I don't want to lose the deal. Mm-hmm. And the owner now, we told him it's so big, it's 40 million, and he's willing to split it first half so that he doesn't pay too much taxes on the sale. So 18 million. Even with the 18 million, I'm so overwhelmed, right? And I spoke with someone, and he's talking about recapture, because this is something I can't bring to fractional, because fractional is like really, so you can tell I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know where to go, and I don't want to lose it.
So I want to make sure I understand the opportunity. It's a $40 million, 462 unit property.
Yes.
And he wants to sell you half of it, or he wants to take half down?
No, sell the first half, and then next
Perfect. So the problem that you're trying to solve is how to finance the transaction? Okay. So the first thing, one thing that's really important, again, the know, like, and trust factor. Let's throw some ideas out. If you were an investor on this project, what are some of the first questions that you're going to ask? Boom. Perfect. How much does it bring in? Cap rate, expenses. For me, when I look at giving someone $18 million, I want to know who's on this project. Who's running the show here? Because if you bring your overwhelmed energy to the call, that's it. I'm not investing. So my first suggestion to you would be to partner with someone who has the experience to take down a 462-unit property. Yes. And I would focus on think about all the questions that your investors will ask and making sure you put together for yourself, not for the investors, but for yourself, like a frequently asked question sheet so that you know when you show up on a call with anyone who has the capital to potentially invest in that deal. Yeah, no problem. You know that when you get on a call with anyone who has capital to potentially invest in that deal, you know the answers to their questions. You know their questions before they ask them. And more specifically, you know that you have partners that you can rely on to complete the project. It sounds like you're raising equity. You guys are going to buy this thing.
I spoke with another person, they're talking about recapture.
Like for taxes?
Yes, recapturing, the recapture strategy, wherein the investors will come in part of the LLC and then take the money and that will pay you off.
Okay.
Portion. I haven't had that discussion with the owner, so we're in the initial stages.
Yeah.
I brought it in because I just want to pick your brains.
Yeah. Well, if you're raising $18 million, one of the things that I'll tell you for sure is that you want to show up as your best, most confident self. And if there's something that you don't know, you should say that. You should say, that's a great question. I don't have the answer to that, but that's why I have a partner. I'll bring him in on our next call. But what I can tell you about is how much does it bring in. What I can tell you about is the expenses. Talk about things that you will be the most confident in. And don't ever be afraid to say you don't know. Just say it in a pretty way. That's a great question. Let me get my partner on that. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you skip plenty of steps, right?
Yes.
Flipping.
I skipped flipping. I skipped buying holds. I skipped a lot of different steps. Now I have to go in reverse because I need tax depreciation. So if anyone is looking to get their deals funded, I would be happy to fund the deals. But yes, originally I went from wholesaling straight to lending.
So
Yep.
and that was that chance, not chance, you probably put yourself in there with Pennington, you said, right?
Yes, Bridger Pennington's group showed me the power of raising money. Real quick story on that. Bridger Pennington, there's so many people in my life that have said a quote that just changes my life forever. Have you guys had that experience? Someone said something to you and you just can't unhear what you heard? You can't unsee what you saw? Bridger Pennington, he painted the picture for me. He said, you could be running as fast as humanly possible, working your ass off, 24 hours a day, running as fast as possible. But if I'm on a bike, a skateboard, a car, I will go faster and further than you with less effort. And he said, make sure you're in the right vehicle.
What's his name?
Bridger. Bridger, like a bridge, E-R. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I could spend the same amount of effort wholesaling, or the same amount of effort raising money, or the same amount of effort lending, or the same amount of effort on multifamily. And if I'm putting my maximum effort, which one has the highest leverage? Which one of these opportunities has the highest leverage? And of course, it was raising money.
So my question, so it took you 3 months to get your first deal fund, right?
Yes.
So what were the first few steps that you took? Like right after that light bulb boom moment, right? And you went back home. So what are the first few things that you
He's asking you a great question. What are the first 3 steps that I took when I decided I was going to start doing this? Exactly what I outlined. I picked my strategy, which was first position real estate loans. I said, who knows me? I went through my whole contacts list, which sucked at the time, by the way. I was 19 years old. My contacts were like partying in college. Like, I had shit contacts, to be frank. Who likes me? I started building this brand on social media when I was very young. I went on YouTube and I started building a brand, posting on Facebook for people who know me to start to like me. And the trust factor. I would outline on these deals, here's how you're protected. Here's the loan to value. Here's the credibility. Here's a partner that's done this 3 times before. Here's a borrower that this is not their first rodeo, right? And after that, I hopped on calls. I took action. I mean, those 3 months, I wasn't twiddling my thumbs, strategizing. I was getting rejected. Pick up the phone. No. Pick up the phone. I'm not interested. Pick up the phone. I don't understand. Time again. And then I started to realize, like, okay, that didn't work. I have to say something different. Okay, that didn't work. I have to say something different. Oh, I got interest there, but I lost them there. I would go back and study my calls. I have this philosophy that there's a lot of people that do a lot of action taking, a lot of doing, but they don't ever do any learning. They never review what they did. And there's tons and tons of people, maybe even more, who are like obsessive course takers who know everything, but they never take action. And I truly think when you can blend these two and find a healthy balance, you can explode. And so that's what I did. I would have calls. I would listen to my own calls as if I was my sales manager. And I would say, what worked, what didn't. And then the next call would be better. And the next call would be better. And the next call would be better. And before I knew it, I raised millions of dollars. And this is when the light bulb really went off. I started to bring on a team. I trained my team for 3 months. And my saleswoman raised $1 million in 60 days. It became a process. It wasn't just because I had the gift of gab and I was smiling and talking. It became a real process. And that's when I was like, wow, should I share this? Like, should I share this? Do people want this? And I want to give it to good people. I've seen tons and tons of people invest in deals that were bad, invest in borrowers that were bad, and I want to empower the people who are doing good deals to know how to raise money. Because what I learned in Dallas is it's not the experience, it's not the deal. It's not always the credibility or the gray hairs that gets things funded. It is the way that you speak to an investor. It's the way that you present the opportunity that gets the money through the door. But I did, to answer your question, long-winded answer, but to answer your question, I did exactly what I practice what I preach. I never, ever, ever tell people to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
But social media was you were posting, and you learned something, you would post.
Of course. Every time that I learn something, even when I'm the process of learning something, like I told you guys, like I would go to meetups and I would post that I'm at this meetup learning about this today. So that when I start talking about it to an investor, they're not like, well, where do you get this knowledge? Like they've seen the last 3, 4, 6 months that I was accumulating the knowledge, that I was doing the thing. The brand building is such a powerful tool. Such a powerful tool. Yep.
So are you mainly lending on commercial deals or residential, like residential family, or are you doing like family or commercial space?
A lot of my loans are between $150,000 and $300,000 for single-family real estate.
And are you wrapping any of your funds into it? Are you like doing fractionalized notes, or is it all other people's money?
I have done fractionalized notes with my own money, but I've never wrapped a loan.
Okay.
I typically will hold first position. There's no other debt on the property.
Where do you make your? Are you making your money on? Are you making your money on forms?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. Who wants to know how I make money? Okay, good. Damn, I need to cover that. Why didn't you guys call me out? Bad friends. Okay, how I make money. Such a good question. What's your name? Andrew. Let's give it up for him. Like, we all wanted to know that. We all wanted to know that. So how I make money. I raise money from investors at 10 to 12% annualized. I use that same money, that same $100,000, and I lend it out at 18 to 24% annualized. And so on my worst deal, there's a 6% spread over the course of a year. Now on 100,000, that's cool and all. Maybe a little exciting, maybe some sushi money every month. But think about that at 5 million, 10 million, 30 million, 100 million. It starts to become life-changing money. And it's a scalable model. This business has momentum. The reason it has momentum, when I was wholesaling, I'd get a deal, I'd make 40K, whatever, I'd make the assignment fee, and it was always about the next deal. I didn't know when my next check was coming until I got another deal. But in this business, when a borrower pays off a loan, when they finish their fix and flip project, what are they doing? Looking for another deal. And if I just loaned them, they have me in their back pocket. They're going to phone me. And when an investor has been getting a monthly check, and they get their principal back, and they know that monthly check's going to stop, what are they going to do? I need to put this money back out. I don't want it. Take it. And so this is how my business grew so fast. First it was 50K here, 50K there, 50K here. And then before I knew it, I was managing $10 million because those first people never left. They kept redeploying. They kept asking for another loan. And the business compounded on itself very, very quickly. And so on my worst deal, I'm making a 6% spread annually. I bring in my investors for 10 to 12%. There's a deal that I did recently. It was a $1 million loan, one of my largest loans. I typically stay in the $150,000 to $300,000 range. This is a $1 million loan. The borrower is paying 15% flat in 3 months. Who can do that math? 15%, $1 million. 150K. 3 months flat. What do you think I brought in an investor for on that loan? 18? Anybody? 10 to 12%. The investor didn't find the deal. They didn't know the borrower. They didn't do the work. And so just because I'm getting a better deal doesn't mean my investor's getting a better deal. They are satisfied. You know why I know they're satisfied? Because I asked the questions. They were getting a 4% CD before. So they're over the moon about their 12% annualized. 15% flat, 12% annualized. This investor is making $10,000 a month for 3 months. That's 30K. And this loan that I used their $1 million for is generating $150,000 in revenue. So that's a special deal. But that's how I make money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, here's a follow-up, sorry.
Yeah, last thing. I was going to say, do you feel like you spend more time, because I feel like there's lots of lenders out there, so do you spend more time like finding borrowers or finding the money? What would you say is like you spend most of the time on, like finding a borrower or finding money?
I spend a majority of my time finding money because that's where the shortage is. There's no shortage of good operators. There's no shortage of good deals. And so when you say borrowers, I actually go to leaders and operators who have volume rather than one individual borrower. I want to work with the guy who has 15 deals a month, not the guy who's starting off his fix and flip. Because the guy who has 15 deals a month has influence over the guy who's probably starting his first fix and flip. So I'm going to the top of the food chain and saying, look, I have millions of dollars to deploy. I would love to work with you. That's the value there.
Do you have to usually like steal them from other lenders too much? Like, 'cause I feel like if people are already operating like that, like, they probably got like a lot, like you know what I mean? Like they got a lender.
Each and every one of them have different problems, though. You have to ask the questions. Like I was working with a guy who he's doing volume and he needs to buy properties quicker, and his lender takes 2 weeks to close. He loves working with the lender. In fact, it's cheaper to work with the lender. But my value isn't the cost. My value is the speed and the ease. Right? So each and every one of them have different problems. They have different issues, and it's also a relationship, right? So building that relationship, asking questions, figuring out what area can I actually solve problems for them. Sometimes it's not just money. Sometimes they need an introduction. Sometimes they want to understand structure. I've had plenty of high-level operators come to me and ask about starting a fund. How do I do this? How do I raise money? If you learn this skill set, you will have no shortage of opportunities. This is the number one problem of any high-level operator. No matter how wealthy someone gets, no matter how successful they are, if they're looking to do big things, and by big, be with $1 billion or millions of dollars, they're going to need to take in investors. And so if you can position yourself to say, I have investors, I have this skill, I have access to capital, people start to come to you and ask questions. And then you have the opportunity to choose who you want to work with. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm just curious. curious, I saw that you're in sub 2 and you're in Gator.
Yes.
Okay, I'm in Gator, and I followed the steps to get my corporate funding.
Awesome.
Like Pace says,
Love it.
had a great first round. I've done over 4 deals in less than a year now. It's going pretty well.
Awesome.
So-
Congrats. Give it up for their 4 deals. It's awesome. That's not easy.
So my question to you is, did you start out, I know you were raising capital, but also, did you start out doing your corporate credit or anything like that?
So that's a good question. People ask me all the time, corporate credit, banks, private money. What I tell people is, how do you think the banks got the money? How do you think the banks got the money? So I'm just cutting out the middleman. I have corporate credit just because I apply for credit cards. People send me mail, but I never went any formal route of getting corporate credit. I never went any formal route of getting a business line of credit. Those are things that I'm exploring now. The reason I didn't go that route is because every single one of us was dealt different cards. The cards that I was dealt is I was 18 years old and I didn't know anything about real estate. But what I did know is that I could learn and I could regurgitate. I could speak well. And so the people that I could build relationships with wasn't the banker. The banker would not respect me. It was someone who was trying to understand real estate that I could explain the strategy, I could explain deal structure, and I could quickly make it make sense for them on why this opportunity was a good opportunity. So I went the raising private capital route. And I've raised millions of dollars that way. There's crazy, the reason I'm so comfortable giving all this stuff away because there's so much money. It's insane. How do we know? Look at the banks. The only reason they can even give you a loan is because half the population, 90%, 99% of the population has their money with them. And so I just cut out the middleman and I went direct to the individual when I started. Yeah, of course. Yep.
Where are some of the headaches that you feel?
People, oh my God. People are crazy. No, but let me think if there's a crazy story I could tell you. But it's people. It's a people business. That's the cool thing about working with the banks. I have some really good friends in Texas who have $25 million lines of credit with banks. You're dealing with one person. In my business, I have over 100 investors. I remember when, you guys remember when the tariffs were announced and the stock market tanked? I had to spend 30 minutes on a call with an investor, which I'm happy to do. But I'm dealing with people who are emotional. And so when something like that happens, I get calls like, is my investment okay? What's going on? I have to explain that debt is different from equity. The public market is different from the private market. And that's a relationship that I'm willing to build because I know that this person, their 50,000, their 100,000 is going to be with me for the rest of time, hopefully. And so I'm willing to build that relationship. But the biggest headaches is probably the questions, the uncertainty. It's bittersweet because it comes with the territory. If people saw what I saw, if they understood what I understood, they would pull the trigger right away. But taking someone through that process, answering every single question, it is a process and it is tedious. But if you have that personality, if you have that grit and you want to have impact on people, then it's 100% worth it. Because the people that have invested with me, who I do sit down and I do have those conversations with, they're over the moon. Everybody wants financial freedom. That's why we're even in this room. And so when I can give that to someone, no matter how annoying or no matter how many questions, to see them super excited about their future and what they're building, it makes that all worth it. But it is bittersweet. And there's a big part of that bittersweet that's first called bitter, But if I answer your question truthfully, that's it.
So how do you protect against defaults on either side?
Defaults on the lender side. What do you mean by that?
I guess if someone fails to pay or someone fails to wire their money.
Yes. So on the borrower side, as a lender, the worst thing that can happen is someone doesn't pay you back. It's inevitable. If you do enough loans, it will happen. How do we protect ourselves against this? Collateral, exactly. And cross collateral if you're not comfortable with your original collateral. I will not, if a house is worth $100,000, there's no way in hell I'm ever lending more than $100,000 on it. In fact, most of the time I'm not lending more than $80,000 on it. And I only lend in states where I can take that collateral really quickly. So there's certain states, there's a process called foreclosure. If someone doesn't pay you on real estate, you have to foreclose on that house. Everybody familiar with the foreclosure process? Foreclosure concept, at least? So there's certain states where it takes 12 months to foreclose, 18 months to foreclose. I will never lend in those states. I have no interest. No interest, zero. I stay in states where I can take back property in 60 days, 90 days, in a short amount of time so I can liquidate and move on. So that's the first thing. How do I protect against defaults? It's loan to value. I'm never lending more than what property is worth. And right after that, I'm lending in states where I can quickly liquidate. Because the market changes in the course of a year. I don't have a year to wait around to foreclose.
So with all those transactions, how are you vetting for properties and
You underwrite. I mean, you can't do everything yourself. You know, like I focus on, you asked the question, I focus on raising money. Someone else on my team focuses on finding borrowers. Someone else on my team focuses on TC work. Someone else on my team focuses on underwriting. Someone else on my team focuses on marketing. Someone else on my team focuses on the financials of the business. You can't do everything yourself. And like you said at the beginning, all those transactions, it didn't start this way. When I started, it was just me, and it was manageable when I was dealing with 50K or 200K or 300K. But as you scale, you also have to scale your mindset. You have to bring on team members and grow your skill of leadership so that other people can take things off your plate and you can continue to grow the business. And your second question, how do you deal with defaults on the lender side? The last thing you want is someone dropping out the day of closing. And so we have, from the moment that an investor commits, there's lots and lots of touch points. And there's a contract. Here's what you are agreeing to, right? There's lots of soft commitments. There's a contract. But at the end of the day, they could still drop out. We put all these expectations in place so that the probability that they do isn't high, but they still could. And so I always have backup lenders. When I have a deal, I'm sending it to 2 or 3 people, getting 2 or 3 commitments, and saying, hey, you're first priority. And for you, if anything happens, I'll let you know. I have you on standby. I never have just one person committed to a deal. So that's how I protect against those pitfalls. Awesome.
Do you do any second position?
Do I do any second position? So I didn't go over this in this slide. I didn't know how much time we have. I lost $150,000 on a second position loan. Has anyone here ever lost $100? It hurts. It hurts. So me in second position, we're not cool. No, but it was my fault. You got to take responsibility. It's not the second position. It's not like second positions are bad. I do not do seconds because I prefer to have the first right to the property. But the reason that I messed up, the reason that I lost money on this second position loan, number one, I trusted someone else's underwriting. No matter how good someone is, no matter how experienced they are, no one's sending the wire but you, so just double check the numbers. Like it takes 5 minutes, it might take 10 minutes, it might take 30 minutes. However long it takes, it's worth it to look. I trusted someone else's numbers. The second thing that I did that screwed me up on this deal was that I was lured in by high returns. This is a common mistake. This deal had a 30% annualized rate. And I was like, let's go. I was like, let's do this thing. I'm excited. I'm usually getting 18. Like, let's roll. And obviously, I never made that 30%. I lost money. Don't be lured in by high returns. I need to understand how the borrower is making money by taking money. As a lender, your business is only successful if your borrower's project is successful. And so I didn't understand, I didn't do my due diligence to know how a 30% loan is going to benefit this borrower. And obviously it didn't, right? They couldn't pay the first position, the second position, they couldn't pay anyone. But the third mistake that I made on second position loans in particular was that I didn't do my due diligence on first. I didn't make sure first was getting paid. I didn't have a copy of the first position promissory note. I don't even know if I knew exactly how much first position was owed. So there are lots of mistakes that I made, but long-winded answer to your question. The short answer is no, I don't do seconds as of right now. Yeah.
How big is your personal team? Do you have a few employees?
Yes, I have 6 people on my team.
6 people.
Mhm.
Damn. So you hired all of them. How did you seek them out? Did you you know, did you put a job posting? What did you do to find people?
So I've been really blessed, and this is a big reason why I talk about brand, because the people found me. And that doesn't mean you just hire anyone who wants to work for you. I still interviewed as if I put a job posting. I still gave them test material to see if they were good at the thing. They were still onboarding and still training. It wasn't just all right, whoever's, Team Alexis is Team Alexis. But those people had been following me, and I'll put a post out on my social media and say, I'm hiring an underwriter, and have 15 applications.
Virtual?
Yeah, they're virtual. Yeah. And I have gone the job posting route before, like ZipRecruiter. There's some other ones out there. I've gone that route. What I find is hard, and what I appreciate so much about brand, is that the culture. Do we get along? The people who've been following me for 6 months, a year, they're already sold on the way that I talk, the way that I walk, how I do business, my core values. They're already bought in. And to create that from scratch, when I did go kind of this traditional route of putting job postings, it was so much harder. It took so much more time from me. So I started hiring directly from my network. But yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, the brand thing is never going to hurt you. It's never going to hurt you to put out what you're doing. You get people behind you, you get investors, you get deal flow. If you haven't started a personal brand in 2025, you're sleeping. You are sleeping. Yep.
Is there a minimum amount that you take from an investor?
Yes. Oh my God. You guys are asking such good questions. What's your name? Vanessa. Let's give her a hand. Such a good question. This is a good question because it comes down to structure. My average loan size is $150,000 to $300,000. So if I'm taking a $10,000 check, I'm dealing with a lot of people on one loan. At any given time, I might have 100 loans out. So I do have a minimum for an investor for my own sanity and bandwidth. Not because I don't want to work with people who have $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, but because formally and structurally, it's better for the business, serves the business better. So the minimum amount that I work with investors is $50,000. Because, and that number isn't just poof, it's because of my average loan size. I don't want more than 2 or 3 investors on one opportunity. That's what's manageable right now for my team. In the event I build this huge team, maybe we can handle 10 investors on one deal. But where I think the puck's going is that minimum amount is going to continue to get higher and higher and higher as our deal flow continues to expand and as we continue to do bigger and bigger deals. So 50K is the minimum, and that's mainly derived from, hey, I want to work with one person on this loan or 1 or 2 people on this loan. The loan I did for Armin, there was 1 investor, and then I put my money in that one. So it's just me and someone else. That's it. Easy, manageable. It's good. Yep.
Did you start your cap at 50, or was it built up to 50?
I started at 50. Now, I did still raise money from people who have 50K or less through a platform called Fractional. Fractional is so cool and powerful. If you guys haven't heard of it, you should check it out. Stella Hahn created this really cool platform where people can invest with $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And those people are still decision makers. The big thing when it comes to structure is if you're taking on someone's money and you are the sole decision maker on what happens with that money, you should have a fund, you should have a syndication, you should have some legal structure and legal entity behind that person's money and your involvement. But as long as the individual is still a decision maker, as long as they are still putting forth effort and putting forth involvement and they are making decisions, you can partner with them. That's just America. That's doing business together. But you have to be really careful between the two. Because if you are taking responsibility for someone else's capital and you guys are just in an LLC together or they just wired directly to your bank account, you can get in really hot water with the SEC. SEC stands for Securities and Exchange Commission. Think of it, if you don't know what it is, like the FBI of capital raising. Like they are going to figure out what's going on and they're going to lock you away if you're doing something wrong. So be very careful on your structure when it comes to raising money, especially with people who are unaccredited, or more often than not, people who have 50K, 100K or less, people who are unaccredited. The SEC is really, really protective over, because they don't want, some slick talking deal maker to come and take grandma's last 10K. There's a lot of protection around raising funds. So Fractional, if you're going to go that route, raising small amounts of money at a time, I would highly check out Fractional. They've put together a way to do it legally and to get those investors involved in opportunities still. You guys learning something? Is this good stuff? This Q&A is fire, honestly. This is some of the best questions I've gotten so far. Very high level. What's up?
So I have two questions actually. First is, say for example, somebody comes up trying to invest in you, and they invest their money. What kind of tax this thing that do you educate them about tax?
Oh my God. I do exactly what I told her to do. I said, I'm not. That's not my specialty, bro. You're gonna have to talk to your CPA.
Does somebody on your team educate them that this is what the tax will be on it at the end of the year? So say for example, I bring 100K and say, once I invest in you, and do I get a K1 at the end, or what happens? Like what happens when I get my return?
Great question. What I can tell you, this is exactly how I would answer this question for an investor. What I can tell you for sure is that at the end of the year you'll receive a 1099 interest form from my team, because we paid your interest the whole year. Now, how you report that is going to be completely and uniquely up to you. Every single investor that I work with does it differently. And to be honest with you, I'd love to help, but I don't know anything about your situation. I don't know anything about your taxes, your job, all these things. I'd highly recommend you talk to your CPA or attorney about how real estate interest impacts your taxes.
And second question is, say for example, if I bring investors to you, like as a connector,
Mhm.
and then borrow back from you for my own projects, do you have like a special programs like that?
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. You said you want to bring investors to me
Because you explain,
and then borrow from me. You can just do it yourself. What do you need me for?
I'm not good at explaining to them actually. I'm explaining.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, he's being smart.
No, so I've been
Using the resource.
I've been a PFP, I've been a multi-family investor, and I've invested almost $500,000 of my own money.
Yeah.
But everybody I talk to in Subto and Gator, they keep telling me that you need to raise money, give
Yes.
other people money. But the people I live in Bay Area, so there's a lot of people who make a lot of money there. But all of them are interested in only putting money for say single-family long-term renters. They don't see the potential of say like a co-living or a multi-family. And I'm not that great at explaining that.
Okay, I really want to hit on this point. He said a lot of the people that he has access to are only interested, they only see the opportunity in long-term rentals. They can't see co-living, they can't see pad split, multifamily, all these things. So this is really good. This is something to write down. Whenever you're talking to investors, there's three main processes that you have to take them through in order to get them to even consider your opportunity. The first one is the industry. Think of it like the top of the funnel. The investor has to be sold and believe in the industry first in order to consider your opportunity. No matter how good your crypto strategy and deal is, I just don't do crypto, see ya. And so making sure that investors that you're talking to, if you guys are going to text your contacts, make sure they believe in real estate first as a strategy of investing. If they don't believe in real estate, you're never going to get a loan from them. Real estate is the first thing, the industry. The second thing, which is the layer that you're in, is the strategy within the industry. Lending, long-term rentals, multifamily, co-living, whatever it is, pad split. There's lots of different things you can do inside of real estate. Making sure that they're sold on that strategy. And the third and final bucket is the team. They have to believe in the team that's going to execute on the strategy. So showing your team's credibility, showing that you've done it before, showing your plan, showing your pro forma, all those things support the credibility of the team. So that's the three things that you got to take them through. In your position where you're stuck in the co-living, in the strategy piece, I would consider showing them evidence. Numbers speak more than anything. And so get 2 or 3 deals together. This is a process that I take my investors through so that I can sell them on, get over this strategy hump, is I would put 2 to 3 deals together on a deck, and they would be like past deals or mock deals, whatever it is. And I'd say, here's what it looks like. And I'd get all their objections out before the stakes are really high, before there's an actual deal. And you can do the same thing. Hop on a call and go through a real co-living. I mean, when someone thinks co-living, like if you're not in real estate, if you're not in these rooms, you have no idea what that means. You have no idea why that's important. Paint the picture for them. Here's what's going on in the United States. Look, this isn't me. Like, anyone could be telling you this information. This is the data. Let's look at the data together. Affordable housing is an issue. Here's how this guy solved this issue. Here's how this guy solved this issue. Oh, this strategy is popular. It's getting popular. Long-term rental is disappearing. This is what's going on right now. Here's where the market is at today. Relevant information. And start to paint the picture for them on that strategy. Is that helpful?
Yeah. I might not be great at
But I can help. If you really want to make introductions, I'm happy to help you and your investors and kind of explain things. I stay really focused. Again, I practice what I preach. I stay really focused on first position liens. But anything that I can do to help you with your kind of pitch and how you speak about what you're trying to present, I'm happy to do. Yep. Question here, one sec.
We do something similar to what you're doing. What point in your business did you determine what drew you to hire these 6 people? At what point? Dollar figure, or was it what was the point that you had to hire all these people?
Yeah, the bad thing about hiring people, the sucky thing about hiring people is you have to take a step back to take a step forward. So I got comfortable with the fact that I was going to make less money by having a team. That was the first thing. I really wanted to grow, and unfortunately, for the growth that I wanted, I knew that I would have to take a pay cut. And a hard one too, because then you have to train people. It's a painful pay cut. It's not even like you start paying someone and they can handle it right away. You start paying someone, they don't work out, and then you have to pay someone else, and then you have to train that person. It sucked. But to answer your question in a really simple way, what drove me to hire the people was that I wanted to grow my business. And in order to grow my business, I only have 24 hours in a day, I was at my bandwidth. And so when I recognized that, it became very apparent. Either grow the business and hire the people, or stay where you're at and don't hire the people. There was no dollar amount for me. Obviously you have to have the money to pay the people, but that was not an issue. There was no dollar amount, no milestone really. It was, I want to grow, and so I can't handle this on my own anymore. That was actually how I made my first hire. I was overwhelmed with the paperwork. The first hire I made was a TC. And I was like, I just can't do this paperwork. I remember like it was yesterday. I was driving down the highway, 80 miles per hour, and someone needs a payoff. I literally opened my computer going 80 miles per hour on my knee. My foot couldn't have been on the gas pedal. And then I decided okay, this is unsafe. Let me pull over, I pulled over. I turned my hotspot on. My connection's not working. It was just it was bad. And I was like, okay, this is it. I can't do this anymore. And it wasn't even like I was leisurely driving. I was going from a meeting to the next meeting. I was still working. I was trying to do something with my business. I was trying to grow my business. So the short answer to your question is I just wanted to grow the company. And I was at my bandwidth. It wasn't all right, I'm making $1 million and so now I'm going to hire this person that's $100,000 a year. There wasn't an exact formula for me. And I tell people this all the time. I'm still learning. I'm still going through my journey. Take what I say with a grain of salt. Maybe there is a figure for you in your business that makes sense to hire someone. For me, it was my bandwidth, and I was like, okay, I'm going to hire this out. And that came with knowing that I was going to take a pay cut and an energy cut to train that person so that they could handle it from that point moving forward. But it allowed me to free up time and go and raise more money and do more deals and build more relationships that ultimately, long-term wise, benefits the business. Yes, I haven't got a question for you.
Hey Alexis, great to see you grow in your career. I'm Dilip.
This is one of my first investors. Let's give him a round of applause. He believed in me.
Thank you Alexis, but folks, I can vouch for her. I love how far she's grown. It's been amazing to watch her grow.
Thank you.
It's really nice to see. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for believing in me. Like, one of my first investors, and Dilip doesn't invest with me anymore. He got too good, and now he's doing his own stuff. No, but he's great. He's doing lots of different deals. But thank you, seriously.
Of course, and I like your tip right now, right? So it's come full circle.
Yes.
So I'm building affordable housing in this area. So I do have investors like the gentleman from the area.
Mm-hmm.
Very high cost of living areas, right? New York City, the Bay Area. They don't have investment opportunities there.
Yeah.
So they like what they're doing. So I'm doing something good. All first position loans. And I have about 20 loans, first position loans right now active. My question to you is, you have shared with me earlier about building a brand.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of vehicles are you using to actually get the word out? How do I connect with investors? A handful of areas I do in Austin, in New York City, in the Bay Area. I've got a handful of investors here and there. What is the secret sauce to getting more visibility, more act, to get the word out more, if you will?
The first thing that I did was ask for referrals. So the people that already, like you, like I would ask you, hey, do you have anyone else who's interested in investing? Because they're already in. They already know. They're like your biggest group of raving fans. They already are sold on the opportunity. So that's the first thing that I did, is ask for referrals. After that, if I'm going external, if I'm going cold, you have to incentivize people to work with you. Whether that be, look, think about the cards you're dealt, your assets, right? What can you leverage? Am I going to pay someone to promote me? Am I going to give someone exposure to promote me? Am I going to teach someone something to promote me? Am I going to spend time, mentor? There's all these different assets. Money is not the only asset. Your brand is, your time is, your knowledge is. So you think about what you have and how you can incentivize other people to work with you. What can you exchange so that you can start to get the word out more, right? What have you tried?
Yep. That's wonderful. I have primarily it's been word of mouth, but that's the pace. Word of mouth works slow.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to achieve is I've got more loans now. That worked fine when I needed 5 loans, but now I'm funding almost 20 loans, 20 bills at the same time. So I do need that pace to increase. So I think your ideas are great about maybe potentially, sounds like connectors, right? Having connectors or providing a mentor relationship to see somebody, how people can probably speak to what I'm doing. So is there anything else other than, like, how does the SEC view like marketing along these lines? Are we allowed to market social media, so forth?
Yeah, this is a great question. How does the SEC view marketing? It depends on what kind of fund you have. There's a certain type of fund where you can't market at all.
So in these cases, these would be like similar to your model. These would be first position loans.
Yeah.
You'd be investing as in debt. It's not.
Perfect. And you're not starting a fund.
No.
Well, then you can, let's run this thing up. Like, let's post about it. Let's tell people. Let's get borrowers. Let's host events. I use all the strategies. There's 4 main strategies: cold message, warm message, and cold just means people who don't know you, one-to-one. I'm going cold. I'm sending you a DM on Instagram. I'm calling you. I'm texting you. My team scrapes data from Facebook, Instagram, from all these social platforms so that we can get in touch with people, and we message people cold. We also do warm messaging. So people who are already familiar with me, one-to-one, this is you looking at your contacts, messaging people who already know, like, and trust you. That's one-to-one. Then there's one-to-many. These are not my concepts. I learned this stuff from Alex Hormozy. One-to-many, cold, is running ads, doing ads. I don't like doing that because it requires a lot of money up front. I don't like to spend money before I make money. But one-to-one warm is social media, hosting events. You guys think Phil benefits from hosting this event? Absolutely. He has everyone's email. He knows what everyone's doing. He knows who has money, who doesn't, who has the flip, who has this. One-to-one, one-to-many, warm, is hosting events, hosting Zooms, being on social media. You gotta do one of those 4. Those are the 4 ways of marketing. And you gotta go all in. Like, marketing is the lifeblood of any business. You have the opportunity to make so many mistakes or lose people. People churn out. Why do you think I'm not chasing you down? Right? You stopped investing with me, right? But I'm fine with it because I'm marketing a ton. I have the next guy in line with 500,000, It's fine. And you have to think about your business is the same way. If you have more loans that you can't handle, you have to pump marketing. You don't need to pump operations. You don't need to pump, whatever it is that you're focused on. Like I would spend 4 hours a day, half the day on building those relationships to get more capital.
Absolutely spot on. Right now, the word of mouth is actually so powerful for me. I need to pace it up. I need to increase that speed. But thank you. That's very helpful.
Go double down. Look at your KPIs, double them, triple them. How many people are you messaging a day? 10, make it 20. 20, make it 40. 40, make it 80. Because it only takes one. My largest investor has a couple million with us. And if you meet one guy, word of mouth sounds like weak, but it's so powerful. If you meet one guy, two guys, two girls, whatever it is, they can end up funding all the 20 that you have. But if you don't double down on the marketing, they might never see you. They might never know you. Know, like, and trust is so underrated. It's such a simple strategy, but it's so underrated. So I don't say anything profound. Like, I just follow the principles. Principles are true and they work. So I'll take the last question. Phil? Cool. What's up?
What do you really love about this? Like, what wakes you up in the morning and keeps you
Yeah.
excited and motivated every day?
I love this question. I love that this is the last question too. I have made a lot of money. If it was about money for me, I could stop a long time ago. What gets me excited is seeing the light bulb go off in other people's head. Right before this, I was at a smaller, more intimate speaking event. And these folks were fix and flippers, developers, and like people looking to get into real estate. And no one ever considers the financial side of real estate. The stuff that you see on YouTube is very blue collar. It's like fix and flip, it's wholesale, it's very get started. I want to uncover the secrets behind the finance side. There's no one doing that right now. I make it my job to seek out the Penningtons who have $28 billion funds, pick their brain, build it myself, and then share it. I want to give away this stuff. Like, I truly want to share it with other people because I've done it at such a young age, and I got so blessed and lucky with the chops to put the stuff together. It would be a disservice for me to keep it all to myself. There's so much money, there's so much abundance. So, long answer to your question, like, I just want to impact other people. I want to see other people win, and if I can work with them, if we can win together, that would be awesome. That's the stuff that keeps me excited. And that's the stuff that honestly keeps me going when it gets hard. Like the day that I had to wire that $150,000, that $150,000, by the way, an investor was going to lose that money, and I saved their relationship. So I just covered it. But the day that I had to wire it, it was like a sink in your stomach, It's not fun. It's not good. It's not easy. But then you get a message on Facebook and someone's like, I just did my first loan, or I just raised my first 100,000, or like, they're being successful. They're using the stuff that I said to be successful. That's the stuff that keeps me going. And really is that I'm passionate about is sharing it, That's the answer, I would say.
I know that's the last question, but please, did you ever go to school, someone trained you, and if there's no school for this, will you start one?
Oh my gosh. Did I ever go to school? Did someone train me? And if there's no school, will I start one? Will I start one? Probably. I have a real passion for education. My mom was an educator. My mom, before I was born, was a high school teacher. And then she ended up getting she's very well educated. She has a PhD in education now. She's a consultant, etc. And so a lot of the stuff that she did for me and my brother growing up, I've now owned and shared with other people. So maybe I'll start one. That might be future down the line. But is there a school for this? I think what I'm trying to bring to the marketplace of education is structure. And specifically structure around the finance world that's not out there. I think what I had to do when I was starting, of course there's courses, of course there's video, of course there's education, there's lots of stuff out there. But it's almost like you have to pick and choose and make your path. There's no clear outline. For example, I have a couple students right now that I'm teaching how to raise capital for their own business, and I treat my training to them like a college course. When they sign up, they get a syllabus. Here's what we're going through. Here's what this looks like, and here's each touch point where you know if you're being successful or not being successful. There's no just here's a bunch of videos and good luck. So I didn't take a course, but that doesn't mean I didn't learn from other people. I learned from a lot of people, and I kind of picked what was applicable and created a path based on, I failed forward. I took what they said, I did it. If it didn't work, I tried again. If it didn't work, I tried again. If it didn't work, I adjusted. And then I kept learning and improving from there. So, thank you guys so much.